Welcome back to the channel. So I get questions every now and again from people that are maybe in their first development job, kind of at a junior role, and are looking for strategies and ways to continue to grow and advance in their career. Now, in each of the past few jobs I've had, I've been promoted into senior roles. And so I thought I'd make a video and kind of reflect on the things that I think worked for me and talk about some strategies that you could implement to help advance in your career and continue to get those promotions and those raises and get more responsibility. Now, there's a lot that could be said about this topic. The field of career development for developers is vast. There's plenty of good books out there. I'll link a few down below. But these are kind of more personal reflections for me and just looking back in the past few years, things that I think really made a difference for me. And so I think they're strategies that come from those reflections that you'll be able to implement as well. Okay, so the first strategy is be clear about your goals and about your progress towards them. So in this job that I'm in now, at the beginning of this year, made a list with my boss about the top 5 or 6 kind of big milestone goals that I wanted to meet. And we basically just kept it really low tech and had a shared Google Doc. And in my check-ins every other week, I would kind of be updating the document throughout the week. And when it came time for my check-in, I would say, hey, these are the things that I accomplished, and just continue to add to kind of that done column. And just continue to update whenever I was making progress on anything, adding new goals as they came up. And my manager actually told me when I received my most recent promotion, which was a few months ago, that when they went in to make the case for my promotion, it was really easy because there was this big long list of things that they could point to and say, hey, look at what Peter has accomplished. Now, I don't say that to brag on myself. I just am trying to make the point that it's really important that you are giving a lot of visibility to what it is that you're doing, and especially the progress you're making in your own personal growth and career development. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this. You could ask your manager to set up a shared doc the way that I did and the way that I do things with my manager. There are a few other ways as well. You can write a weekly recap email. You could just maybe ping your manager every so often and say, hey, just wanted to tell you about this new feature we implemented that's driving a lot of value for our users. Anything you can do that is going to open up visibility into the value that you're providing, and you should be thinking about your career in terms of the value that you're bringing to the table. Anything you can do to expose that value is going to be good. Not to get on a soapbox, but I do think it's important to think about your career and your job in terms of the value that you're bringing to the table. At the end of the day, you're not getting paid to just come and kind of sit. You're being paid to perform a job that at the end of the day is driving value for your employer. And so the more that you communicate things in terms of the value that you're bringing to the table, the easier it's going to be to reward you for those things. So that's point number 1, be clear about your goals and your progress. Okay, point number 2 could kind of be a subset of number 1. It was for me, and that is do public speaking. For me, public speaking was a goal of mine this year, but I think it's important enough to merit its own standalone category. And the reason for that is that public speaking kind of confers this, I would say, strange, like magical power on you, where you're automatically considered an authority and someone that has credibility, whether or not you actually deserve it. It's a very strange kind of phenomenon, but at the end of the day, every year I've done public speaking, whether at meetups or conferences, I've gotten a promotion, and I don't think that is a coincidence. There's something about having the guts to go get up and talk in front of people about technical topics or even soft skills topics, which is what I tend to, that goes a really, really long way and kind of makes people take notice. There's something special about it. I think it's still important, even in COVID world. A lot of meetups I know have moved online, and there's still opportunity. I used to run a couple meetups myself, and it was always a struggle trying to get people to come and speak. Same for conference organizers as well. There's always going to be a need for people that are willing to come and give talks. And so that's a really big opportunity for you and for your career growth. Now, if you're looking for opportunities to get started speaking, that could be a whole video in and of itself. But for now, I'll just say, look for local meetups on meetup.com, and you can reach out to the organizers there and ask if they're looking for speakers for anything. Another way to speak maybe more at conferences would be looking at CFPs. There's a Twitter that I know that's devoted to that, and quite a few websites. I'll link a few of those down below if you're looking to kind of peruse the available opportunities. Of course, things are different now with COVID, but a lot of conferences have simply moved online, and so I think that those opportunities are still there. I can't overstate how valuable it is to do some kind of public speaking. I'd say at least once or twice a year, that's what I shoot for, and just how far that goes for you in your career and how people perceive you and perceive how knowledgeable you are and what you're bringing to the table. And that is point number 2, do public speaking. My third point is probably considered common sense, but it's important, and I think it's maybe easy to lose in all this, and that is do a solid job at your job. Make solid contributions on your project teams and outside of your project teams. So I was talking before about goals, and in my case, some of my goals have to do directly with my job and some don't. And so I think it's easy maybe to get off track and kind of lose sight of what really matters. But at the end of the day, like I was saying before, it's about bringing value to your employer. And so at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for yourself in terms of promotions and raises is bringing a ton of value to your team and directly to the work that you're doing. One way of doing that is simply being a dependable coworker and employee. If people know they can count on you, that's going to go a really long way. Another way of progressing in this particular area is just looking for ways to take on more responsibility. A big thing that goes a really long way, in my opinion, is taking on some of those thankless tasks that people don't notice until something goes wrong, like managing the CI/CD or streamlining some development tasks that's going to save everybody a bunch of time. Those kind of things are important demonstrations of the value you're bringing to the table, back to point number 1, but they're also things that just genuinely make everybody's life better. And there's a million different examples of ways you could do this, but at the end of the day, you got to take care of the number 1 priority, which is the actual work itself. But if you're doing that and you're dependable, at the end of the day, people will take note of that. Just to recap, be really visible about your goals and your progress towards them, do some public speaking, and do a solid job at your job. Like I said, those aren't everything, but those are things that I think really helped me in terms of career growth, promotions, and all that kind of thing. In conclusion, I really think a big part of this is about visibility. It's kind of like that old philosophical question, you know, if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? It's kind of like if you're doing valuable work, but nobody knows about it, does it really count? And I would kind of argue no. You know, you can be doing the best job in the world, but if people have no way of knowing about it, then it's only going to help you so much, probably not very much. On the other hand, if you can, not in an egotistical way, but in a matter-of-fact way, communicate the value that you're bringing to the table, the things you're doing, the goals that you're meeting, that is going to be, I think, probably the most important thing in ultimately helping you get to that senior level. Now, the logical question is it more about perception than reality? And I would say, no, it's got to be about reality. Like I said in the third point, you've got to be bringing home the bacon. You've got to be getting the job done. You've got to be doing excellent work at your position. So I'm not advocating perception over reality, but I'm just advocating communicating the value that you're bringing to the table in a clear and matter-of-fact way. So that's it. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's things I could address in future videos. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.